culinary world, do titles and degrees matter? Obviously, we'll start by saying, what degrees and certifications and titles do you all hold, and do you find that it affects your life?
I went to the CIA, so I have an associate's in, I don't know, associate's.
You went to culinary.
I went to culinary school, so I have an associate's degree for that. And then I also stayed and did my bachelor's, so in restaurant management. So I have a bachelor's in that. I think for the most part, school is great for people who want to learn and are willing to just, learn as much as they can and absorb everything and realize that what they learn in school can be used as a foundation for going in and working in a restaurant. I think people who assume that because they went to culinary school, that right off the bat coming out that they're going to be, a sous chef or an executive chef or a TV star or whatever it may be. That's not the case. So
that's not
that's not how it works. So I think, it's good to have a degree. Would I only hire someone who went to culinary school? Absolutely not. I think when I look at resumes, them having gone to school is maybe a plus, but it really comes down to them coming in and trailing and see how they are and how they do in the real world.
Yeah.
I think, obviously to be, be a sommelier and have a degree in that is completely different, because you really do need to go to school and learn all of that. I would think, I don't know, I'm not a sommelier, but there's a lot more information out there that you, I think, use on a day-to-day basis from what you learn to have that degree than you would necessarily need to, be a chef. Because I really think that being a chef, it's working through and figuring out ways to overcome obstacles in a kitchen that you can't necessarily be taught. You can learn the fundamentals of how to hold a knife and stuff like that, which is great. But I think it's really understanding how to fix a situation in the spur of a second, and how to really grind every day and work like your ass off, and see how difficult it is to be in a kitchen, and the heat and in the pressure and whatever. So I think that is a little bit different than sommelier, but I could be completely wrong because I didn't go to som school. So
I didn't go to school for anything.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm the worst person to talk about that. But I don't think there's anything wrong with certifications. Like, I'm not a master sommelier. I never took a sommelier class ever in my entire life. I learned in an apprentice situation. So it was an evolution. But I think that there are plenty of people that I know that have done all that stuff, and they're just as knowledgeable and maybe more knowledgeable than me, which is great. I think it just depends on what you want out of it. My goal was only ever to run like a great wine program. That was the goal. It wasn't. I'm not interested in teaching. I'm not interested in writing a book. None of that stuff ever appealed to me. I just wanted to be the best sommelier on the floor that I could, and for me, the progression felt right. Just learning from someone else, and the people that I learned from, none of them have any of those certifications or went to any school. So you have to do a lot of studying on your own.
Yeah. And I think what you said is the way that, and it kind of goes back to what you said also about expectations of coming out of school versus the way that for many years it was more of almost like a craft base, like, you had a mentor, or you worked for one chef and you followed them, or you really learned through the business versus going to a school. And while going to a school is great, education is amazing. Anyone who has the luxury and the ability to take the time to spend that kind of money and be able to have that atmosphere and be able to learn those things, that's great, and it's great if you can do it. But at the same time, I think it's important to remember that in this industry, you can also go a different route, which is, which also I think is kind of as good as well, because it's important to learn, it's important to work your way up. It's important to know you like the industry. It's important to know that you like, because the way that it's presented, Polo went, I myself have taken a couple classes at WSET, but I definitely learned everything from being in the front of the house for like 10 years. And that's the way I learned. My husband, Paul, the chef at Meadowsweet, he went to FCI and it was great, but while he was at FCI, he was working at least 30 hours a week at another restaurant at the same time. But that was good for him because he saw like this ideal, right? These pristine, beautiful kitchens in the school. But then he also saw like, the reality, which is, it's like a small restaurant owned by, a small, like, at that time, husband-wife team, and he saw like, and he loved it, and that was great for him, But I do agree that the one worry about, especially culinary school, besides just the cost now, which I do think is really an issue, because a lot of these young, and sometimes not young, some people go into it mid-career, they come out with serious debt to a job that can only pay a certain amount an hour, because as like a restaurant can only afford so much an hour, but that's a whole other issue, I guess. Yeah. But at the same time, I think if you can afford to do it, why not learn some more? But I don't think it's mandatory by any means.
Do you think for people who've been in the industry, and obviously there's for certain paths, I think the chef path is the most, okay, I'm going to start at culinary school, whereas a lot of front of house or a lot of somms sort of start, they're working and they kind of learn from someone. Is there an advantage to going back and getting certifications or getting degrees, or saying, I've been a somm forever, I want to get that master sommelier thing? Or do you find that there's value in going back ever, or is it like you're learning on the job and at a certain point you're done?
For me, I only have everything to lose if I did that. What if I didn't pass? I know I wouldn't pass. It's a hard test. That whole thing.
That's a hard test. That's because what you're talking about is like, especially it's almost like the question that they're so different from culinary school versus going for your somm degree. It's so much. I was having a conversation with somebody the other day, and they said that with like the globalization and like the opening up of so many different wines that are getting very popular from so many different countries, like it is so much knowledge that you must memorize and learn and know and understand and be able to work through. I don't know how someone could have a full-time job and go through getting their I know people have done it, and I find it's very impressive. It's very impressive.
I think it's usually most MSs get their master sommelier when they're young, and then they go into and they focus. But like Pascaline Lepelletier, who's a wine director of Rouge-Tomate, was able to get her MS and work full-time and run an amazing program. She's like really inspirational, I think, to a lot of people in the industry because she was able to do that. But it's very uncommon. Most people that have their MSs either worked part-time or weren't working at all in a restaurant. They just did it, A lot of MSs that never worked in a restaurant. So, but they'll be great educators, and that's important for people to learn about wine, especially people that are not industry driven. But I think that it's what you want in the end of the day. I like to work until, 1 a.m, serving great wines and tasting great wines, and having that relationship with the guests that is something that matters to me. And I think that, it's not always the case that when people who have gone through the higher education system, maybe their desire is not to do that. Like maybe they really do just want to instruct and write, which is awesome. That we need writers, we need instructors. We also need people who want to work late at night and open bottles of wine.
Yeah.
So do you feel like there's some, is it good to kind of have a mix? Because some people, that training is good, and also having like a little bit of your own style is also good?
I think it just depends on the person. Yeah. Some people do better having going to school and have that kind of structure. Some people do better learning on the job. So for me, I think the combination of both worked well for me. Kind of taught me discipline, like going to school taught me discipline because I was not. I did terrible in school before I went to culinary school, and it just, it doesn't really prepare you for what culinary school, for what working in a restaurant is gonna be. So I think if you do both, if you go to culinary school, it is good to have a part-time job where you see what it is like to be in a restaurant, because you might waste all this time and money, and then you realize this isn't really for me. This isn't exactly what I thought it was gonna be, and then you're off to the next career. So I think it's really important to know what you're getting into.
Just learn it all in whatever way it works.
Absorb it if you can.
Wonderful, thank you.